We ready to let them in?
Yeah, ready to go.
All right, here they come. Brace yourself, everybody. We're ready for the off.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully, in the right place. We certainly are now. Just a little teething problem, but if you're here in the room, lovely to see you. Thank you very much. And if you're joining us on LinkedIn Live or YouTube, hello there too. We'll keep an eye on it, and anything that you want to contribute will be. You can certainly join in as well. So let's get going, shall we? Whoosh! And it is the end of July, the very last day of the month, and it's lovely in my part of the world. Hopefully, you're doing well too. If you've ever not joined us before, please do make sure you get into the chat when you're here in the room with us. We always like to have a little chitty chatty as we go through this. You can be as open as you want, as cheeky as you want. Anything that we're talking about, you can fling in your opinions as well. And again, if you're joining us on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can do exactly the same thing. But of course, that's a bit more of an open shop, so perhaps you don't want to be as cheeky. Anyway, I'm here today. There's only Eileen and I. Hello, Eileen.
Hello, how you doing? We're
I'm all
missing
right.
John. We can run amok without John here, keeping us under
Well,
control. Do you reckon?
we can. So John's otherwise engaged today, so you will miss him and his lovely slot that he does around the news. But I'm going to attempt to take his place in that. Other than that, yeah, Eileen and I are in charge, which is why it's all a bit frantic from me off. Because yeah, we just all went a bit technical problems at that last minute, but we're okay now. And I'm going to start breathing in a minute. Whew. So hopefully you had a good month. We're going to be tackling some stuff today and hopefully having a little bit of fun along the way. But as ever, you're in the right place. If you love PMOs, we certainly do. Let's get going, shall we? Let's have a look at the first little segment that's coming up.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
There's our little house of PMO urchin selling the news, and it's the news segment. And I'm going to apologise in advance because John does a fantastic job at this and doing lots of great academic papers and or getting into some technical stuff. So I'm feeling a bit out of my depth. However, I thought, you know what I'm going to do is focus on the kind of news that I like, which is perhaps not as technical. So it's going to be very peoply based, which I think will be, okay too. It's a little different, but yeah. So let's have a look at the first bit that we've got. And this one caught my eye because it is about AI, but it is more about the people aspect of it, which is why I really like this one. It comes from the World Economic Forum. Anybody who's not familiar with them, they do a lot about the future of work, what affects people in the workplace, all of that kind of good stuff. And one of the things that they come out with recently about the whole idea around AI, and it's a question I think that we brought up before here as well, is about well, if AI becomes a big thing and takes away some of those kind of repetitive tasks, or in a lot of a project environment can be miscued as being kind of like more admin based. I wonder how that's going to affect how people come into the PMO then. What happens to those first rung on the ladder type roles? It's interesting stuff. So what they're debates are around is what happens. It's not necessarily simply asking about which jobs will be replaced. They're interested in some of this more human element, which is, well, if it does start to replace some of the things, what does that mean that we will stop doing as humans? What does it mean when people talk about being genuinely AI first? What is all of that about? And more interestingly, this is the bit that caught my eyes, how entry level work will change. Because I'm genuinely, interested in, where I started out, straight out of university, never worked in a workplace before. I needed that entry level role. I didn't do a graduate placement. It just literally temping. That's how I got into it. And I do worry about where some of the talent that we might not be getting within the whole project management PMO space might be affected by that. So one of the interesting bits then around that particular thing was, well, what are they recommending then? Because it is a bit of a conundrum about this, because we still want people to be able to get into project management from a younger age. One of the bits that I like is actually thinking about how you actually redesign those entry level roles rather than we're going to just get rid of them. So being more explicit about the planning or workforce planning. Certainly as we adopt AI and it becomes more in use. But I think here was about also just trying to think about what those roles might look like and what those skills might look like. And what I really liked was is that you're still going to need those humans there. We know that. We know that AI is not going to completely replace what we're doing within project management. But it's trying to understand that, okay, if it takes away the repetitive administrative stuff, some of those junior employees still need real work. They still need to be able to learn how to do things like develop judgment, confidence, and workplace experience. But what will actually happen in terms of those entry level roles is to be more thought around bringing in some of the new routes. Certainly here in the UK, we know that policies change around education, but not everybody will be pushed down or going down that graduate route, that university degree education route. So apprenticeships become more of a possibility where people are getting hands-on experience. In terms of, and I suppose the AI, the question for the PMO is, well, if it does take away some of the more administrative, repetitive tasks, what do we want some of our junior employees in the PMO to be doing? And that's a kind of, I suppose, a shout out to everybody listening here that's been working in this space for a while. But if you had to bring in or love to bring in a junior employee next week, with AI coming down the line, what do you think that you might be doing with them? What kind of role? What would it look like? Because certainly there's going to be a lot more about junior employees being able to work more confidently with AI. The interesting thing is that the younger generation that are already up on a lot of the tech. So how can we utilize them? So again, it's just thinking about we're not going to be replacing the traditional ladder with different types of development opportunities, which is where the things like the mentoring, the rotations, the apprenticeship stuff comes in. But also thinking about, there is going to be, and I suppose for a lot of us as well that have been around the PMO for a while, we probably need this kind of training and development ourselves, but about becoming more AI led or becoming genuine in AI first, which is all about, we need skills and abilities to be able to create good prompts, to be able to challenge the outputs from the AI, to be able to recognize its weaknesses or where it's going off piste or hallucinations, understanding the reasoning behind some of the outputs that we get from AI. You can start to see how entry level roles will change in terms of what it is that they're doing. But I just wondered from an AI point of view, from a PMO point of view, what we might be thinking about in terms of, well, what would they be doing? If you want to bring in a young apprentice in the PMO, what kind of work will they be doing in this new age of AI? Just something to think about, and it's going to be certainly something that I want to carry on, trying to find out more examples of people that are out there in the PMO world at the moment that are bringing on people, younger people from an apprenticeship point of view. What is it that they're working on and how are they doing it? Because I'd just love to know more detail. But again, it's not just our world, it's across the entire workplace. People are worrying about this kind of entry level role and what will happen. So moving on to people that are a little bit more experienced. Unfortunately, with this one, this is a new survey out from the Association for Project Management. which is their project management skills survey. And unfortunately, unless you are a corporate member of APM, which we're not, we can't see the full survey. So we can only see some headlines. So if there's anybody here that is a corporate member of APM that has got access to this survey, I'd love to know whether there's some more stuff in there that might be around the whole kind of PMO space, because we can't see that. So from a high level point of view, Ray, and I've got a little bit of work for you to do as well here, is that we can see there that, and is there anything startling about that number that 59% of project managers primarily learn on the job? You know, I think it's pretty obvious that actually that happens to a lot of people. But only around a quarter reported holding
The
any
big
kind of
ones we killed.
entry level, project
I'm sure it's a
qualifications.
mix.
I'm just going to put some on mute if we can, Eileen.
I've done it.
All
I've
right.
done it.
You've done it, right, super. So only around a quarter reported holding any kind of project qualifications, while even less, relatively few, reached deep expertise. AP, right, this is the bit for you to complete, so get ready in your chat. So APM argues that relying on experience alone can produce what? Because I believe that PMO people will know exactly how that sentence finishes. So if we have got within our organization project managers that are predominantly learning on the job, what do you believe that relying on experience alone can produce? You must be working alongside these project managers today. Absolutely, Lindsay. Bang on. Great name, by the way. But inconsistency. Absolutely. Inconsistency and own baked solutions. Absolutely, Philip. Bad habits. Yes. They said something along those lines, more articulate, but I just thought I'm not going to write it down because you just know. You just know. Indeed, Eileen. I don't know if the F word was in this skills report because we can't see it. But anyway, one of the other bits that you could see at that high level is that leadership, communication, judgment, and AI capability are becoming more important. Do you know, leadership, communication, judgment have always been there. They're always important. I don't believe they're becoming more important. But I think this AI capability thing is overtaking the whole kind of project world at the moment because there is this kind of like, well, what's really going on with it all? But I don't think there's any surprises there. But is it about people still? Well, indeed, Stuart. So anybody who's got it, I'd love a copy. So anyway, there you go. There's the from the Association of Project Managers that project managers learn on the job. I don't think there's anything startling there, but it is current news.
I just want to add, it's a really interesting one that we talk about when we're putting plans together. Typically, our optimistic planning is we always plan as though we've got an expert working on the job, who are going to be working at their best for the whole of the project. And I'd be fascinated to see if anybody adds a risk kind of multiplier, because we've got somebody who's learning on the job rather than as a seasoned professional doing the projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's current news, but it's not current news because it's old news, but you know what I mean. So let's move on then. So another one here that was quite nice. I thought it was quite nice to have a look at this one because I don't think we've really done much in terms of kind of development in terms of your progression within an organization. This is King's College London, so it's a university that they're basically talking about, but if you're wanting to progress into a leadership role, and this could be that you're a PMO analyst, perhaps wanting to think about becoming a PMO manager, or PMO manager wanting to move upwards to a more senior leadership role, whatever it might be. But it's just interesting how we tend to focus more on, if we want to get to a more senior position, it makes sense that you might perhaps be able to pursue or find a mentor to help you to go down that route. But actually, it's more than that. It's sponsorship. And what we're finding in terms of the research, and I will put the links in if people are interested in this, is that But researchers argue that sponsorship should be treated as a leadership responsibility rather than an informal favour. So what they're talking about here is that actually we shouldn't be necessarily looking for mentors. Mentors are great, but if you're wanting to move within an organisation, certainly into more of a leadership role, you need active sponsorship, and that's a different kind of thing. And I'm going to show you in a minute about how those differ. But it's an interesting one because I think our conversations here at the House of PMO obviously advocated, looking for mentors or even a coach in terms of, helping you in your career development. But I don't think we've actively talked about this thing of sponsorship or having a sponsor, somebody that's advocating for you, somebody who's getting your name around, somebody who's actively helping you to pursue, to get into a position to be in a leadership role. So in terms of the research, it said that there's different types of sponsors. And I just wonder again if anybody's actually been down this road or is in this position at the moment, or even thinking about it, but or indeed they do it within their organisation, but you're just not yet part of that. They talked about different types of sponsorship in your career. So again, having somebody that's assigned. So this is what tends to happen in a lot of organisations where people, somebody, there might be a program in place, a leadership program, that kind of thing, where you can get an assigned a person. There's somebody where that there is people, support does exist, but actually the person that wants to be supported or sponsored kind of avoids it, and the person that is the sponsor also tends to not lean in as much as they could do because of politics and all of that kind of stuff. Shallow, as it says, is that actually, yes, there's a bit of encouragement and a bit of visibility, but actually anything meaningful is not really there. And of course, it's like anything. We've talked about this before, way back, about being reciprocal. Reciprocity is one of those things that you can have in your career, that you can do something for somebody and they do something for you. It's a very simple, complex concept, but again, can be missing a lot within an organization. But what they're saying here is that, this is what's really needed. If you seriously want to be moving onwards from a PMO manager to a director to an enterprise PMO level PMO or a different part of the business, you need to have a strong sponsor behind you that's going to be helping and guiding you and advocating for you along the way. Interestingly, their research says that actually only 1 in 4 relationships are actually the reciprocal type. All the rest of it, you could probably argue that it's just maybe just doing a bit of window dressing without it actually really helping people. So yeah, it's an interesting cut, and I've not really looked at it before. And secondly, here's another one that I don't believe, Eileen, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know whether we've actually even looked at neurodiversity around PMO.
No.
No, I think what we have done that's kind of going along those ways of thinking about people is that we did some mental health first aiding stuff.
Yep.
Which is still available in the library, which is more about the support of individuals in your team within the PMO.
We did do, there's some a previous paper, I think you worked with, of course the name escapes me, Donny McNichol, didn't we, on the type of people who work?
Yes, no,
In the
absolutely.
PMO, that's a few years back.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it kind of come to my attention because I think you got somebody in the call, Katie. Kate, you on the call. I hope we had
I
a
am.
hello,
Hi.
hi. So we had I will come to the news bit in a second, but I just want to quickly say hello to Kate, and for anybody who's listening, both here in the room but also live on the streaming. Kate got in touch with me last week because we put something out about AI, but the session that we're going to do in Edinburgh, and she got in touch with me and said, have we thought about the impact of AI around employees that might be neurodivergent? You coming along to the conference, didn't you? And you also had said to me about, we thought about from a conference point of view about how people that are neurodivergent,
Yeah.
taking this and stuff away. But we had a brief chat, didn't we, yesterday?
Yeah.
And we're interested, certainly from Kate's point of view, that she's really interested in exploring more, about neurodiversity, specifically within the PMO, because you're a PMO person yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I've got autism and ADHD.
And we had a really good chat yesterday saying that your therapist or somebody had said to you that probably the work that you're doing, because you explained about PMO, is probably spot on for you.
Yeah.
So we want to explore that. So I don't know if anybody else, you don't need to reveal yourself if you don't want to. But I think it is a subject that we really want to find out more. And Kate's gonna keep in touch and kind of help us along a bit with that, because I'm intrigued, because we had the chat and I just said, well, I wonder what it is. I wonder what bits of PMO work. I wonder which aspects of it. All of that kind of good stuff. But hopefully I'm going to get Kate to come along to the event that we're doing in Leeds, and hopefully talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, she's going to regret getting in touch. But
No, it's exciting.
yeah, yeah, lovely. So but Kate, you want to drop your full name into the chat?
Yeah,
People are lovely to connect with you on LinkedIn, if anybody
yeah, of
wants to
course,
do
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Don't
lovely.
judge
Thank
my
you.
LinkedIn too much yet because it's a work in progress.
No, absolutely. Yeah, so we'll come back to that. But it just happened to be in the news, so that's what I'm saying. There's a connection. Oh, it's just serendipity, isn't it? That's what it's called. So,
Yeah.
Birkbeck and Never University, this time in London, with a neurodiversity in business group. So again, there's a charity that's set up. The third year of doing this particular report, and essentially they were looking at not specifically PMO or project management, but a good number of people there. Headline stats: 75% of people working in an hybrid way. Really love that and really appreciate that, because it really works well for people. A little bit in there about that whole kind of return to work mandate. People really struggling with that. All of those kind of things. Some highlights in terms of what the impacts are on people, for people that are non-neurodivergent. You probably don't really think about much like this, about what their impacts might be, but there was a number of things on here that were interesting, and one of them specifically, and as Kate had just said, actually the biggest percentages on these particular people were it's ADHD first, and then autism also. But one of the things that really interested me in terms of some of the things on how people that are neurodivergent kind of deal with work, was, and as a for chat, a lot of people have talked about here about was the psychological safety. That absolutely comes up in this report as being one of the ways in which people that are neurodivergent, if you start to look at some of the psychological safety stuff, that has been really helpful. However, something else that came up that actually is a little bit more practical, I suppose, but also this may be something for us all to think about. And it's something called, and I don't know if you've heard the words before, but job crafting. Yeah, so job crafting's letting people shape the work, not just fit into it, which you could argue applies to everybody. But this report was looking specifically around some of the three different areas that people with a neurodivergent would particularly lean into, which is obviously around some of the tasks, which is why when we were talking to Katie, we would really love to know what kind of PMO tasks specifically would be the highlights of why why PMO work seems to be really good for certain people, about the relationships and about the meaningfulness of their work. So you're right, yeah, everybody's chatting away, but psychological safety is in that report, but I didn't want to drag it out because we have done some stuff on it before. And as you say, Kate, James's session in the members library, if you're interested in it or if you don't know anything about it, go and type in psychological safety in the members library and it'll bring up some stuff on that. So yeah, so it's just really interesting from my perspective is what kind of people do we have working within the PMO? And if a neurodivergent, what kind of strengths are they playing to? What is it that they're bringing to the table that perhaps non-neurodivergent people are not? But also, from a PMO point of view, we're working with people across our project environment. I wonder about how we work with other people, just like we did. We're thinking about the mental health first aiding stuff. Do we even consider the different types of people that we work with? And that's sort of kind of thing that just kind of popped up in my head as we're reading this. So hopefully, the sessions today, yes, it wasn't as eloquent as John going into his lovely stats and about some really great academic stuff, but I really wanted to go into the people stuff for a change. So here we go. There you go. So that's it. That's it from me. That's a new section. Let's move on, and I can breathe a bit. Yay. Whoa, and it's the advert break. Just to let you know that we're back in Edinburgh. If you've not seen us spat in this ad this week, this is for the Edinburgh conference that's happening in November. We're doing something lovely and different and full on, and it's going to be brilliant. And yeah, we're going to be doing the whole 2-day timetable is going to be out next week. But just to let you know, it is different. So it's not the kind of conference that we have in June in London. We are doing something that kind of brings together the PMO Learn concept and the conference together in one event. And it is going to be, and we couldn't have picked a more number of people that are talking to us about this theme and saying, that PMOs have got to be more, insight driven. They've got to be adding more value. They've got to be, getting into things like really enabling good decision making based on good data, good facts, all of that kind of stuff. We've been listening to that over the last 4 years. This is the first time that we've been like, you know what, we're going to do it, and it's going to be 2 days. And it's going to be an event where we're not on the laptop, but it's going to be about things like the data, the insights, the storytelling, the decision making, all of that kind of stuff. It couldn't be more, bang on for right now in the whole kind of PMO space. But we will be talking data, information, knowledge, wisdom, and action that kind of underpins the whole kind of life cycle from the basic reporting that we do right through to make enabling executives to make decisions that they can rely on and trust. We're also going to be doing it in such a practical, interactive way that you're going to love it. We're doing
we've almost kind of melded PMO Learn and the conference together, haven't we?
we have, and it's going to be brilliant, and we're going to put everything into it to make this work because it's got to be exciting, upbeat. It's such a difficult subject that we just want people to be able to really engage with it, regardless of a level of experience that you have around any of this stuff. Because a lot of people would say that actually, it's we're not doing any of this stuff yet in our organization. Great, it'll be good for you. Plus, you're going to be meeting a lot of friends because we're going to be doing, round table stuff. We'll also be doing some social stuff together. We'll even be holding a PMO flash mob on the first night as well. So it's going to be very different, but hopefully you'll join us. You can take a look at that on the website right now. Let's move on. Next session. So we've been running a poll of the month on throughout July because apart from data insights, AI, one of the other biggest challenge areas has been resource management. And that has been since year dot, as far as I'm concerned. And we wanted to try and get some insights on this because we're trying to understand, well, is there something here that the House of PMO can be doing to try and help make sense of, but more importantly, some practical solutions for PMOs and their organizations. So you can see the current poll there. But I just wanted to know, we're going to go into a different segment here at the moment. But when you read that question, what's the biggest resource management headache in your PMO right now? It'd be lovely if you just drop in to chat. What is your biggest resource management headache right now? Is it a headache? Is it something that you'd gladly ignore if you could? Is it that actually attentions have been turned elsewhere, that actually it's not as massive a challenge? We'd really like to just understand a little bit more But Eileen, you're going to get into and want to know a little bit more than that, don't you? Yeah? Shall I move on
Yes.
for you?
Yes, I am. So happy to take over. So, and this is it's an interesting one, isn't it? So, what Lindsay and I always try to do is we try to create things that are relevant and useful to the membership and potential members of the House of PMO. And one of the things that has, as Lindsay said, was always kind of benefits management was always on the top of the too hard list for years and years and years. And what we've seen, interestingly, as projects have become more prevalent across organisations, central oversight of projects has become again more prevalent and more of a thing for us to do, and the rise of the PMO. What's kind of capped what capped benefits management as the biggest challenge is resource management. And you'll know last year we did our second or we did a second report on the circle of resource management, where we looked at kind of three specific aspects of resource management and why they were difficult. And we came up and said, actually, the paper's really useful, but wouldn't it be really good if actually we had a course that people could come on and actually kind of learn how they could use some of the tools and techniques. Interestingly, one of the things that an adage that I often refer to is, apparently it's attributed back to Einstein, that says a problem well formulated is a problem half solved. And what the circle of resource management does is allows us to kind of look at the problems of resource management and kind of breaks them down into three different circles, which then all kind of loop together. And we said, wouldn't it be really good, not just writing the paper, but actually kind of to create a course that people could come on, learn the tools and techniques, help them articulate what the problems are in their organisation, and then be in a position to address them. So we've got the next slide. One of the things we've done is we've kind of done that, and we've pulled together a course. It's a 2-day course. Again, there's lots of kind of commercial implications of whether it's kind of a 2-day course, a 5-day course, a 10-week course, etc. But we've 2-day course which basically covers off the three individual circles. So at a project level, kind of who's doing what, where and when. At portfolio level, what's the kind of overall kind of demand and supply element in our organization? How do we kind of do that, not just from a day-to-day perspective, but also from a planning perspective, down to the individual kind of resources in terms of kind of skills and capabilities that we need. Where are they? Where do we get them? How are we using them? And then the last bit obviously is kind of pulling that all together. We put that together, and we did there's a webinar, and it's there in the library to kind of go through that course. What's been really interesting is it's had zilch interest. Yeah, that's us being open and honest. And it's quite surprised us. So we thought we'd be absolutely shameless and just come and ask you. Obviously, you're the kind of the audience who are engaged with us. And we're just kind of curious, because obviously we try to do things that are going to appeal to you, that obviously have to work in a kind of commercial perspective. So just curious as to kind of what your experience is around resource management, in terms of kind of why that doesn't appear to have landed for any particular reason. So we're just going to kind of have a couple of questions to make sure that either that we've not actually written the right course, we've not positioned it correctly out there, or actually people don't understand what they're going to get off the course. So there is just a couple of questions. So we're just going to do this in chat. So just where in your organization, where does resource management hurt the most? And again, so this is really about kind of thinking, because a lot of people have said, well, that's not my role, but perhaps where it's not our role, but we're hurt by it because we're suffering some of the challenges. So a couple of things that we've got there in terms of, we don't know who's working on what, so there's just not the visibility. Yeah, we all know, the second point there is, well, actually, we've just got more work than we can do, and we've got some challenges in that the senior managers just expect us to do it all. So actually trying to do any kind of resource management is almost kind of a waste of time because we're just kind of too busy head down working really hard. Yeah, some of the elements that Lindsay mentioned earlier, in that the skills and capability gap. When was the last time we did a real competence assessment of our project management capability? Do we know that people are capable or not capable of project management or resource management or risk management or whatever? We know that? Lindsay, your other screens come up on the
All
covering
right,
the.
sorry.
It's okay, no, just let you know. The chances are that some of the resource conflicts are really kind of political, and though much as from a PMO perspective, we might want to try and put a process in place. Actually, it's not the process that's the issue. It's the people who are arguing and pulling strings, and actually they think they're more important or too important, or they are important and can make decisions outside of any kind of process that the PMO puts in place. Good old kind of, we're back to the whole kind of data problem. We just don't have any information that's helpful or useful. It's hard even to know how many people are actually kind of working in project management, because as well as having standard projects that are in our portfolio, there's actually some really good project people who are working on projects that don't actually exist in the portfolio. They're being managed, delivered kind of within individual departments. Or actually, is it just, much as it might be on the most difficult pile, it actually hasn't sat up there on the actually it's the urgent or important. There's so many other things that we need to deal with, and actually we're taking off some of the things that we know we can do well, and we know we can make a difference of. Resource management is that big black cloud, and we just kind of know it's kind of looming, and it's just one of life's necessities that we're all in constant pain around resource management. So just really curious in terms of just to kind of make sure that's there. And I see there's been hundreds of answers, and I'd be lying if I said I'd looked at them, but I will go back and actually kind of and having a look at kind of what are some of those kind of conversations are. But the next bit is really interesting to me in terms of if you've looked at it and said, and actually kind of perhaps we're on that the introductory session we did. If you could pop onto the next slide, and just sorry, Lindsay, you're already on there. Yeah, no, go back one. Sorry, that's me. I was just yeah. So, what would actually kind of stop you actually booking the course or recommending it? Do you actually kind of know who's it best placed for? Is there anybody in your organization who you think would benefit from that, or are you just kind of struggling to suggest, well, actually, I'm not sure who would best be placed? Are we still having all of the budgeting issues around, kind of where's the money coming from, and we haven't got enough money? Or I know at the end of last year there was an awful lot of training budgets were disappearing, and really interesting, and something that Lindsay and I are kind of watching about the Andy Burnham effect. Is that kind of, regardless of our politics, has he injected any kind of hope, and the kind of things are looking up, and we're going to be investing in people again over the next 12 years. So just interested in terms of any feedback you can give us in terms of kind of why we might not want or have booked or are interested in attending the course. Obviously, our plan is kind of hopefully still to run that course. And the next slide, just if you had missed it, here are some kind of quick details in terms of kind of how the course, when the course is running. So it's not until October. Obviously, we're conscious of the summer holidays, but usually we have more interest. So from our perspective, thank you very much for all of your input. As I said, if you the other thing is if you think we should be doing something on something different, then kind of do provide us with that insight, and we'll kind of have our special team kind of pulling something that we think is relevant. Anything you want to add, Lindsay, on the resource management course?
Not at the moment. No, but it was a question. Will resource management also be a topic as well during the conference? You mean in terms of data and all that kind of stuff? Not specifically, because it's one of many data sources, if you know what I mean. But it will obviously continue to be a thing for other conferences that we're obviously doing. But and I'm just really conscious of time and the fact that it is now like 4 minutes to 1. I don't know where.
Do you know in my head we're going till 1:15? That'd be me. Right.
I know, but it just means everybody. But Eileen's got a really lovely session that she's going to do next month now.
Oh, well,
Um,
we're not doing that now.
because she had some great ideas around actually there's some new books. So I'm just going to stop sharing for the last few minutes because we don't want to go into and start something that we can't finish. So obviously here in the Northern Hemisphere, a lot of you are going to be having time off, no doubt, or already had time off. We just always like to know when it comes to having a bit of downtime, what do PMO people like to read and recommend? Is this a time of year for you where you think, I'll just start reading fiction? I'm not interested in work stuff when I'm away on holiday. Is there any kind of podcasting stuff that you're listening to? For me personally, when it's been lovely summer weather, I know I should be doing a little bit more. And there's no point laughing about the fiction books. I'm with you because I've downloaded the Jeeves and Wooster books.
Oh, absolutely.
You
Have you
know,
never read them?
no, no, I haven't. I know. Well, I'm working my way through them on my Audible while I'm walking the dog. But Eileen's a big book reader, and she's going to be back next month with a really great book that you may have seen that have been written partially with some people that we know within the PMO space, and it's called, remind me, Eileen,
Project Land takes a
Project
trip
Land.
to the movies.
Yeah.
Project Land goes to the movies.
There you go. So that's what she'll be doing next month. But is any recommendations that you want to share? We really do like recommendations for books, and if you put one in here now, she will go and buy it. So just be aware that what you're
I quite like that one on poisonous plants, Tanya.
poisonous plants. Excellent. Yeah, so there you go. This is it. We just come back to the news thing about the PMO is made up in by people all shapes and sizes, interests, and we have to be, don't we? With the
So
relationships that we have
I've
to.
just found somebody who does knitting and cross stitch in chat.
There you go.
Ab-
You see.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was distracted. I'm going to be comparing patterns and and projects.
So
Sorry.
there you go. Well, we can also the knitters of the PMO world because we're going to be we're going to be in Edinburgh in November. It's going to be cold. Can we not have a jumper knitted for PMO on there?
We've talked about this before, haven't I? If I can get a PMO jumper done, I've
Yeah.
got time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we're just going to bring it to a close. So sorry we didn't manage to get into the last segment. It's my fault. I went in big on the news bit and all sorts of stuff. Plus, look at it's the sun and it's just a nice weather. But we just and John's not here to keep us all together. So he's going to listen back to this and this thing. You know what? He's not going to allow us to do this again on our own. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. It's great to see you. Always lovely to see you chitty-chatting away as well. It really does help us to carry on doing what we're doing. Come back for August. It's going to be a career special one, actually, as well as the lovely book reviews. So, yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye. I should have the outro, but it's all gone to pot. So, you know. See you later,
Care,
everyone.
everybody.